Welcome to another Founder Wisdom Pod with Michael Counts. Michael is the founder at A Plan Coaching, Counts Project, and the August Moon Drive-In, the ride New York, that is. Previous career in the entertainment world, so we're going to talk about that, pivot to coaching. So interesting move right there. So we're going to talk about coaching, well-being, and life advice, I guess. This podcast is brought to you by podpire.com. That is my podcasting company. If you want to start, scale, be invited to a podcast, you can go to podpire.com or Charles Cormier. You can Google that. I will pop first. Michael, welcome to Pod. Tell me a bit more about yourself and A Plan Coaching.
Sure. So yeah, you noted a broad background. So I was originally a theater director. I directed theater, opera. I was an early pioneer of immersive theater in New York City, and I did projects internationally. Ended up doing large-scale fashion shows and events for people like Michael Kors and Rachel Antonoff and New York Fashion Week. And I did Michael Kors's brand launch in Shanghai, China, which was a huge project and was sort of known for that. But the pivot came because coaching was something that I used as kind of a secret weapon. I was an early adopter to coaching in 2002 and then beyond. And I always viewed it as like the key to me being a successful entrepreneur, being a successful creative person, being a creative person that, oftentimes creative people have kind of self-destructive tendencies. And how do you keep all that stuff in check? And, in a way, like keep the pistons firing in the right sequence to be both, functional in life, and productive as a creative person and sort of weigh out, coming up with interesting and innovative ideas, but also a practical and organized business person. And coaching did that for me. It also helped me be a better, dad, husband, friend, son and brother, et cetera. And so about 7 years ago, I had an insight and I was like, why doesn't everybody have a coach? Like, it's been so great for me. It's unlocked so much potential in my life. Why doesn't everyone have a coach? And as I started to explore that, as entrepreneurs do, I had some insights about what had been holding back the industry. And I turned to my partner, who happened to have, a Stanford MBA and had been at Deloitte Consulting in their human capital practice and had been a coach for 20 years and was the daughter of one of the founders of the coaching movement in America. So like really in it, like deep in it, in her bones. And so I said, I think I have a vision for how to take coaching to the next level. And we agreed to kind of pursue it. And then eventually we did and built a very early tech platform that grew into something much more complex and sophisticated. Now we coach at many, Fortune 500 companies, and we have tons of individual clients that we serve. And now we're making a move into AI to really, truly scale coaching. So, and to be perfectly honest, the last thing I'll say is that it's been a pivot in many respects, but it's also kind of a continuation of a lot of the reasons that I was a creative person to begin with. Like the art, the theater, and the events that I made were attempts at reinventing art forms and experiences. And ultimately at their core, like their core DNA was giving people ways and means and opportunities to view the world in a different way, to see it for all the wonder that I think exists. And I think coaching does that too, just from a different angle. I think coaching at its core is about getting the most out of one's life. And I think that requires a shift in perspective often. And we've had great success with that at A Plan.
It's quite exciting. How many clients do you have? What do you charge? And what's your field of expertise and a red sea of life coaching?
Yeah, sure. So, we're holistic in nature. So we don't do like executive coaching, though we coach at lots of companies. We view people as holistic beings. And I think it's very difficult to separate, one's personal life or habits in wellness and their performance in other ways of, professional performance. So we deal with people holistically. We ask we take four fundamental pillars of an approach, which is one, we start with what's working. Like, what are you great at? What do you love to do? What is natural? What some people might call what's your zone of genius? Second, we say, what do you want? And not just in your work or in one domain of life, but in all domains of life, to really understand where people want to go. Because oftentimes what we found is that the key to unlocking potential in one domain of life is sometimes hidden in another seemingly unrelated domain of life. And then we make what we call maps, multiple action plans to pursue those goals. We focus on a few out of the gate, but ultimately try and spread to focusing on many, many aspects of one's life. And then the coach supports you as you go. The metaphor that I always love to bring up is like a plane flying from New York to Paris is off course most of the time, right? It's not pointing directly at Paris, it's off course. And what it's doing is it's off course, then it course corrects, and off course is then it course corrects. And we do that, but very often people judge the likely success of an endeavor in any one moment when they might be, if they examine the moment, they might say, oh my God, I'm off course. Like, let's abandon ship, you know what I mean? Or like turn back. We're off course. We're not going to get there, but they don't trust their ability to course correct. And I think a coach is there to be a sort of a thought partner, accountability partner, and help people remember that even they can be off course in a moment, but on course for the long haul. And I think that's super helpful to people. And so that's what we do. We charge, it's very tiered pricing. Generally it's like, I'll give you the corporate rate. So $500 a month for weekly sessions, plus as much interaction with the coach and through the app. We have a very, very cool and well-considered and very multi-feature tech platform. So you can communicate with the coach between sessions. The coach is witnessing you tracking progress and accomplishments, gratitude, and things like that. So you have a lot of connection and engagement with the coach between sessions, but generally 30-minute session per week. We sell it as a monthly subscription. Individual contributors are $500, people managers are $750, and executives and leadership are $1,000 a month. But I mentioned AI earlier. One of the things that we're working on is sort of lowering the bottom so that using technology to really scale coaching, so that we can drop the price to a point that makes it like really universally affordable. And I think we're moving into a phase of technology where that's really possible in a very exciting way. So we're bullish on that. And I think we differentiate, from companies like BetterUp and Torch and other companies that are much larger than we, raised a lot of money, and we've been very bootstrapped, is that, all of our coaches coach from a consistent methodology. So we do a lot of the training and then ongoing professional development. The app underpins that methodology. So it's not like, people say coaching, right? Like it's all one thing, and it's like very much not. And what we've done is we have 75 coaches now. We've had a leadership team of founding coaches that really developed a methodology. We've then taken feedback from our entire team and roster, which is very like cherry picked. Like we're very selective about the coaches that we bring onto the platform. Some places like BetterUp is more like a marketplace, right? Like Uber for coaching. Like we're not that. We're trying to be much more of a consistent methodology and bring sort of a very rigorous point of view to bear, and approaches and language and tools and all that kind of stuff that to us makes it more effective. And when like a company, like we just started a big engagement with the Obama Foundation, where they've selected all of these leaders across the country that they wanted to support, 100 in all, and we coach all of them. If you're doing something like that, you want to be applying a consistent methodology and not having, some people are doing this kind of coaching, some people are doing this kind of coaching. So our approach is very, supportive of that. And we also, I'd say last differentiation, or, maybe another differentiation, is we have a very, very diverse pool of coaches. We believe that, coaches need to often clients want to have a coach that shares their lived experience. So we have coaches across a wide range of sort of diversity criteria, because if you want to have coaching for everybody, you got to have coaches that represent everybody.
Yeah, I've seen that great diversity on the website for a bunch of different profiles. The AI part, we could imagine a virtual AI Charles giving advice to a client at a fraction of the cost, right? I tend to cost over $2,000 a month. I could offer that at $60 a month, and people would also have access to me 24/7. They would also get a stable level of energy, because coaches also have energy, and the battery might be down sometimes. And yeah, who knows? I could be augmented, right? It could be a better version of me. It could be the more knowledgeable version of me. I could boost my EQ if it's low. I could boost my flexibility of thought, and reduce my, I don't know, and my anger, if I can, because getting angry at coaching clients is never good most of the time.
Right.
So yeah, basically we could imagine that. What do you have in mind for your coaching app for A Plan? What would the AI eventually look like?
Yeah, I mean, you touched on many of the same points that we've identified. I personally don't believe that sort of a generic coach bot, right? Like Siri, but she's a coach, is going to be a thing that people will want. I believe that they're going to want a human at the point of origin, and then an extension of that human. So you mentioned, the Charles extension, and that coaching people and at a fraction of the price. That's exactly our vision of it. And you point out some of the limitations of human coaches, right? Coaches have bad days and they get tired and they forget things. One of the features that we've developed that we're very excited about is, unlike ChatGPT or something like that, when you go and it's always a new conversation in effect, right? Our AI, which will be an extension of every coach that we have. So a coach, an extension of Michael, an extension of Michelle, an extension of Sarah, an extension of Charles, that really reflects you and what you would think. A lot of time and energy has gone into training the prototype, and then we're just going to scale that to other coaches. But it's a lot of not just language, like how does the person talk, but like how do they respond, and what we've broken down into what we call beats and moves. Like themes are beats, and moves are like, what would I say specifically in this situation if that were the context, and so on. But one of the biggest features that can change the game is memory, right? And how that works is the AI is learning from everything that the client ever says, and it's extracting facts and salient points and intentions and desires, commitments, details of that person's life, things that they've struggled with, and ways that they've overcome that struggle, and then stores it in a database. And then the AI extension of Charles has perfect memory and perfect recall for everything the client has ever said, and then responds to the next statement with all of that factored. And I think that's the point at which we need the human to be at the center of it. But through this extension, we can give sort of superhuman abilities to human coaches, like perfect memory and perfect recall, and to be available 24/7. And that's only going to get better over time. And I think that the ability for an AI of me to represent me in a way that I would approve of, is getting better and better by the day. And so I think that, I think a lot of, our original thesis was like coaching for everyone. Like we're like, everyone needs a coach, like everyone has a dentist, everyone needs a coach, everyone has, some degree of an ally, like a coach can be. And I think everyone's worthy of that. Everyone's worthy of having their best life, right? Their A plan, of their life, their not their B plan or their C plan, but their ideal version of their life, their dream life. Like everyone should have a shot at that. Coaches help, but most people, coaching today is a luxury product. And I think if we can democratize access to it by providing real scale, like we've done a great service to the people, and to I think, on a certain level, humanity generally. I mean, I think the world will be a better place if everyone is not operating from a place of fear and resistance and competition, but rather from, being their best self, achieving their best life, being, supported in that way. I think that's a world that I want to live in, for sure.
Do you use coaching, and and are you a coach, and what do you tend to focus on in terms of healing, being more productive, and being your best self?
I do have a coach. I've really had a coach pretty consistently for the last 20 years, sometimes off and on, but like for the last 7 years, I talk to a coach every week. And actually we text a lot. So it's like really probably after my wife and my kids, probably the most important relationship in my life that I rely on, even in some ways differently and more than I rely on the people closest to me. I'm not, I'm trained as a coach, and I have 2 clients that I coach, but more because their use case, their challenges were very in my sweet spot, entrepreneurship and being sort of a middle-aged parent, looking to kind of reinvent oneself. Like I meet all of our B2C clients. We do both B2B and B2C. I meet all of our B2C clients, and these two, like I met them and they were like, will you coach me? And I was like, I couldn't say no. So I have a few clients. I use the tools in my life broadly, but the thing that I really focus on is the four things I mentioned, is helping people see, we really rely a great deal on gratitude. I mean, I think that, helping people see how much they have to be thankful for, like, and grateful for, like, no matter what the circumstances of their life, is a powerful starting point. And then we help people to really identify what they want. Like, what do you really, really want? Like, if you, like Charles, like if you like won $10 million tomorrow, what that you're currently doing would you continue to do? That's a good clue as to those are the right things you're doing. What things would you stop? Right? That's an indication. Like, that little, acid test is a powerful one. And we help people determine, like, what do they really, really want? Who do they really, really, really want to be? How do they want to be? Who do they want to be? Who do they want to be with? What do they want to have? What do they want to do? Ask those questions and then help them pursue it and get it. And that's it. It's very simple. It's like, but so is exercise and health. You know what I mean? Like, everyone knows what to eat and how to exercise, but very few people do it because it takes a little bit of rigor and a little bit of accountability and a little bit of commitment. And I think that, I think the coaching helps do all that. I know coaching helped me, like, make more money, be a better father, be a better husband, lose weight, be more present, all these things that I wanted in my life. And coaching just helped me do it by kind of helping me see that I had the power to do it,
What would be the difference between coaching and psychotherapy?
Well, it was funny. I'm on this UN global task force that Deepak Chopra started, looking at mental health globally. And one of the things that I brought to my panel discussion a few weeks ago at the UN was this idea that, like, there's a continuum of mental health, right? And there's a continuum of mental health interventions that help people be, in the best state of mind. On one end, you have, like, education and mentoring and peer support, and then maybe coaching, and then maybe, counseling, and then maybe psychotherapy, and then psychiatry, and then more severe right? Like,
Mike, you're lagging.
the psychotherapy is, I think that a lot of are sort of like stuck, right? They're like stuck, or they're struggling. Like, I'm coaching someone who said to me, like, hey, I got divorced, I don't love my job, my kids are growing up, and that was the moment. That person stuck, who's out of shape, or not. There are instances where it's benefited from the times in my life, but I think that there's a fundamental difference. I think one is about, actually our resident psychotherapist yesterday explained this to our whole team of coaches. We were having a professional development workshop on this topic, and he said, I view therapy past, and then coaching is, what do I do with and create my future? Some people, you can say, sometimes I've described it as like, coaching is psychotherapy is about addressing the problem and the trauma and the past and pain, and coaching is about the future and what do you want and who do you want to be and where do you want to go. I know that's how I've used it in my life. And again, I think there's a place for both, but I think that they're fundamentally different. And I think, again, that a lot of people who are seeking out someone to talk to don't, again, have a mental disorder or aren't, like, in crisis. They just need someone to talk to help them get to the next level in their lives. And I think coaching is way better suited to do that than psychotherapy. So.
Right. So one would be supplementation and one would be fixing stuff that's not working. Although I just don't agree with the definition of mental disease or disorder. I think, and I mean, yeah, I'm quite weird in that regard, but same for physical diseases. I think, a strong mind can lead to a lot of positive stuff in your mind, in your body, and the other way around. A weak mind can quickly self-destruct itself. I mean, it's just like your body, right? Like if you start cutting yourself, you will bleed out and you'll self-destruct. Well, guess what? You can do the same in your mind. If you don't control the mind, that is a tool, that is a technology, believe it or not. The brain itself, the intelligence is a technology that can be amplified or not. So think, sometimes people in a complex environment, these toxic inputs can get in. And yeah, if you don't have the right framework, or if your OS is not optimized, then yes, that can certainly lead to depression. Like you just need to convince yourself that you're a depressed person and that you hallucinate all the time. And I mean, there's physical factors to that too, but I believe like that the mind can also be used to fight pretty much anything that is in front of it. That's my belief. And
Yeah,
I create my own reality, so I just think also in 20, 30, 50 years, most people are going to agree to that. And there's not going to be any separation between clinical, quote unquote, psychotherapy, which is literally a certification that people got at big education, and coaching.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I mean, we've on platform.
Mike, it's lagging, so I'm just gonna stop the pod here.
Behavior change and a lot of emerging work that we're doing. Call the top. Sorry, I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah, I don't know too, but yeah, I can hear you now. I think you're off the lag zone.
Well, it was I really appreciate being on. If you want to re-record, we could re-record at some other time. I'm happy to do that. But I do need to jump. I got this call right now and it's an important one, so I'm gonna go. But thank you so much, man.
My pleasure.